You're sitting across from them at dinner, and the silence isn't comfortable anymore. It's heavy. They're looking at their phone, or maybe they're looking at you, but you can tell they aren't there. The body is present, but the person you fell in love with has already packed their bags and left the building. This isn't just a rough patch or a busy week. It's the quiet, terrifying process of emotional disinvestment. Most people miss the signs until the day the talk happens, but the truth is the exit began months ago in the small, invisible moments you probably ignored. If you feel like you're screaming into a void while they're standing right in front of you, you need to understand the mechanics of the mental exit. By the time we're done, you'll know exactly how to spot a checked-out mind before the door actually closes. That I've spent years studying the micro-behaviors that signal the death of intimacy, and there is one universal truth. People don't leave all at once. They leave in stages. This video is for anyone who feels like they're dating a ghost, someone who is physically there but emotionally unreachable. You aren't crazy for feeling this distance, and you aren't needy for noticing the shift in the air. Today, you're going to walk away with 3 specific things. First, a definitive checklist of the 5 psychological red flags that prove someone is mentally detached. Second, we're going to uncover the politeness trap, why being nicer is actually a sign that they've given up. And finally, I'm going to show you the one question you can ask tonight that will force the truth out into the light, even if they aren't ready to say it yet. This isn't about guessing. It's about seeing the architecture of a relationship that is being dismantled from the inside out. If you've been living in a state of, maybe this is the clarity you've been waiting for. The reason it's so hard to tell when someone is checked out is that it often looks like peace. We're taught that high-conflict relationships are the ones in trouble, but the opposite is often true. Conflict requires energy. When someone fights with you, they're still invested in the outcome. They still believe the relationship is worth the effort of an argument. The most common mistake you can make is assuming that because you stopped fighting, things are getting better. In reality, the silence might just be the sound of them giving up. Think of emotional investment like a battery. When it's full, you're willing to navigate the friction of daily life. When it's empty, you simply stop trying to fix things. You become a roommate. You talk about the weather, the groceries, and the schedule, but you never talk about us. This happens because the human brain is wired for self-preservation. When a partner feels that the emotional cost of staying engaged is higher than the reward, they start quiet quitting the relationship. They build a mental wall to protect themselves from further disappointment. But here is the catch. They won't tell you they're doing it. Often, they don't even know they're doing it themselves. They just feel heavy. They start living a parallel life under the same roof. There's one specific word, a single common phrase, that almost every person uses when they've officially checked out. If you hear this word, the relationship is already in the emergency room. I'll reveal what that word is in a few minutes. But first, we need to look at the behavior that sets the stage. We're going to dive into the core signs of the mental exit, starting with the most deceptive one, the disappearance of the future tense. Step 1. The death of the future tense in a healthy relationship. The future is a shared playground. You talk about where you'll go for the holidays, the concert next summer, or even just what you're doing 3 weeks from now. When someone mentally checks out, their timeline shrinks. They stop making plans that extend beyond next Tuesday. If you mention a wedding 6 months away and they give a vague, non-committal answer like, "We'll see," pay attention. They are avoiding the future tense because they no longer see themselves in yours. This isn't just about big plans. It's about the micro futures. They stop saying, "We should try that restaurant," or "We need to fix that sink." The we starts to dissolve into I. Step 2. The politeness trap. You might notice they've become suspiciously easygoing. They don't get annoyed when you're late. They don't push back when you disagree. This feels like progress, but it's actually a red flag. In psychology, this is known as detachment. They're being polite because they no longer care enough to be honest. It's easier to agree with you and keep the peace than to engage in the emotional labor of a real conversation. They aren't agreeing with you. They are dismissing the interaction so they can go back to their internal world. Point 3 is where the most visible shift happens, and it's usually the one people try to explain away as stress, but don't fall for it. Step 3. Selective Amnesia and the Loss of Bids. John Gottman, a famous relationship researcher, talks about bids for connection. A bid is when you point at a bird outside or tell a funny story about work. It's an invitation for your partner to engage. Someone who is checked out will stop responding to these bids. They'll offer a MHM or a nod without looking up. More importantly, they develop selective amnesia. You tell them about your doctor's appointment 3 times, and they still ask, "What are you doing today?" They aren't forgetful. Your life has simply become background noise to them. When someone is invested, your world is their world. When they check out, your world is an interruption. Step 4. The roommate pivot, functional versus emotional. Watch the content of your conversations. Are they 100% functional? Who is picking up the kids? Did you pay the electric bill? What's for dinner? This is the roommate pivot. They are managing the logistics of the household, but avoiding the intimacy of the partnership. They treat the relationship like a job they're waiting to quit. They do the bare minimum to keep the machine running, but the spark, the vibe, is gone. If you try to initiate a deep conversation, they'll redirect it back to logistics immediately. Point 5 is the final nail in the coffin, and it's the hardest one to hear, but you need to know it before we get to the one-word reveal. Step 5. Defensive autonomy. Suddenly, they are very protective of their own life. They might start new hobbies, make new friends, or spend more time at the gym, all without inviting you. When you ask about it, they get defensive. "I just need my space," or "Can I have anything for myself?" This is defensive autonomy. They are mentally beta testing a life without you. They're building a world that you aren't part of so that when the final break happens, they already have a landing pad. It's a transition from "we are a unit" to "I am an individual who happens to live with you." Now, remember that one word I mentioned earlier? The one that signals the end is here. That word is whatever. When whatever becomes the default response to your questions, your concerns, or even your plans, it means the emotional bridge has been burnt. Whatever is the ultimate verbal shrug. It says, "I no longer have the energy to care about the outcome of this conversation because I'm no longer invested in the outcome of this relationship." It is the sound of total indifference. The aha moment you need to have is this. You cannot fix a relationship with someone who is only there for the logistics. You can't love someone back into engagement if they've already decided to be a ghost. Recognizing these signs isn't about finding a way to win them back. It's about regaining your own reality. It's about stopping the cycle of gaslighting yourself into thinking it's just a phase. But knowing they've checked out is only the first step. The real question is, once you see the ghost, what do you do with it? Do you try to haunt the same house? Or do you finally walk through the door yourself? If you're seeing these signs, the next thing you need to understand is how to have the impossible conversation, the one that ends the limbo once and for all. If this video felt like it was filmed in your living room, you aren't alone, but you can't stay in this checked-out middle ground forever. It's exhausting to be the only one holding the rope. If you want to know exactly how to approach that impossible conversation without losing your mind, click the video on the screen right now. It's time to stop living with a ghost and start living your own life again. Hit subscribe to keep choosing your own sanity over someone else's silence. See you in the next one.